Alright guys, what is up? Alex here from thetechnicalclass.com coming to you with Wabam, the Alcatel Flash 2 unboxing. This is their successor to a very popular Wabam Alcatel One Touch Flash Plus. This is an octa-core phone with a 5.5-inch HD display. The new one though is a octa-core, new generation processor with a 5-inch HD display, but improved cameras. The 13 megapixel is now an ISOCELL sensor. The front camera now has a front-facing flash, 3,000 milliamp hour battery, and this is going to be priced at 6,190, more affordable than this guy. Plus, my number one feature for my personal taste is they're going to use stock Android with at least very little bloatware. Now, if you're not familiar, this guy was running on a slightly convoluted OS and had a bunch of built-in apps that some people might not like. Anyway, Alcatel Flash 2 will be available September 30th. For 6,190, we're gonna unbox it right now. Alright, so here is the Alcatel Flash 2, and as you can see, this is their sort of a premium gift box is what they call it, and it pulls from the top right here, and as you can see, the power of green in sort of a glittery, shiny text right there, and you open this up like so, and you have all of the stuff inside. Here we have a couple of screen protectors. Here is the power charger. The charger is pretty nice. There's a bit of branding over there, and it gives us a 1 amp charging. So no fast charging, but of course this is just a very affordable device. This is a micro USB cable for charging and data transfer, and this looks like your 3.5 millimeter headphone. Over on the top right here, we have the phone itself. I'm just going to remove it from the plastic, and there it is. That's the phone, and there's the back. We're going to turn it on and get rid of this sort of protective transportation plastic right there. I'll put it over here. As far as paperwork goes, you see where the service center is here right there, and a quick start guide. It says right there, Alcatel One Touch Flash 2 7049D. Lastly, what we have right here is the fancy freebie of the day, and it's quite nice because, of course, I believe the Alcatel Flash Plus did not have this freebie. It's a flip case that actually replaces the back. So instead of clipping it on the back, you remove the back, and this is now your new back. All right, wabam! That's what it looks like with the flip case, and I actually like this flip case. It has this sort of leatherette feel on the back and some faux stitching, kind of like a Galaxy Note previous generation. I don't want to you know, drop names, but that's what it looks like, and that's kind of a nice thing. But I don't know how to make the window work. I don't know if it does. Normally the windows are there because the software is baked in, that where you can close the window and have some sort of information on that window. It doesn't show up, but I think the window case looks great. I'm not a fan of, you know, window cases so much because it takes a while to, you know, flip it over and use it, but the design itself looks really nice. All right, so once we have the back removed, as you can see, there is a SIM 1 over there, a SIM 2 over there, micro SD card slot for expanding your storage, and both SIM slots are LTE capable. By the way, this battery with the IMEI numbers covered cannot be removed, so it is fixed on there even though the back is removable. Wabam! Here is the phone itself with that 720p 5-inch IPS display. Viewing angles are pretty good, no complaints here. And as you can see, it's running on that stock Android 5.1. Actually, admittedly, it's not completely stock Android. There's a bunch of customizations, and there's a pre-installed app here and there. Most of them are uninstallable, but one of them I have to mention. I'll talk about it later on the first impressions or initial review, but we're going to talk about the parts right now. As you can see, the capacitive buttons on the bottom light up. Here is the back. Here is the recent key. Here is the home button. When you turn the display on and use the capacitive buttons, it does light up. By the way, the back here has that also green circle. Of course, they like the power of green, so we have to they have to specify that color. Anyway, here is the front. It looks pretty nice. I do have to mention the bezels top and bottom are a little bit generous, and there's a bit of this nice silvery chrome touch top and bottom, which I like, although the phone itself is a little taller than most phones. Here is the front-facing camera right there, and the 5 megapixel, and we have a front-facing LED flash for great, better lighted selfies. Of course, like I mentioned on the bottom, there is a passive button. One thing I noticed though is that they are a little lower than what I'm used to. So when I'm pressing these buttons, sometimes I still touch above them. That's kind of a minor thing. I'll talk about it more on the initial review. On the left side, there's nothing. There's just that sort of a shiny strip that is part of that chrome bezel. On the bottom, we have a pinhole microphone and a micro USB port for charging and data transfer, and the little nub thingy to get rid of the, to remove the back, not get rid of it. On the right side, here is where all the buttons are. Here we have a volume rocker with some ridges to feel where the up and down is. And here is the power button. Now, you're wondering what this is. This is the dedicated camera button, which I do like, although it's not a two-stage camera button. So you hold it like that, and apparently I've just taken a bunch of burst shots. So that's a single-stage camera key, but it's pretty handy. Thankfully, they add that. On top, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack and a noise cancellation microphone. All right, so now taking a look at the back, and boom, they want you to see that flash letters right there. On the bottom, we have a Alcatel One Touch badge right there with a nice chrome speaker grill, a flash shiny logo right there. It's actually very shiny. Some people have commented on that. We have a dual tone flash over there, and here is the new 13 megapixel camera with, of course, that dual tone flash with a bunch of badges and that green circle. Now, this is a Samsung ISO cell sensor, 13 megapixel, so it should provide some kind of very nice, at least in terms of a color isolation, camera shot. All right, guys, so as customary with our unboxings, I will leave you with a bit of a scrolling on and looking at the interface of the Alcatel One Touch Flash 2. And as you can see, it is pretty smooth. Here's the, let's go to the settings menu. And look, as you can see, it is pretty bone stock, although there's a Smart Awake feature, which we will talk about later on the initial review because we haven't actually tried it out yet. It's running Android version 5.1, and like I said before, I seem to be touching top above the back button, not just the actual back button, because it's a little lower than I would have expected. Maybe that takes getting used to. I don't know. This is just an unboxing, but we have a new Alcatel Flash 2 on hand, and it's very, very nice. I do like it. As stock Android is definitely killer right here. I do like stock Android, and it's very, very smooth as to be expected. Anyway, that's it for me, Alex from technoclass.com here. That has been the Alcatel Flash 2. You have now just witnessed the power of green.